We've all got them, right? Big goals, huge dreams, that future version of ourselves we're trying to build. But what's the difference between a daydream and, something that's actually done? Well, the answer is simpler and way more powerful than you might think. It's all about the art and, the science of a plan.
This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? A dream without a plan is just, well, it's a wish. Think about it for a sec. That marathon you want to run, that business you want to start, they just stay in fantasy land until you start really thinking through the how. Planning is the engine that turns those fuzzy ideas into actual, concrete steps you can take. Okay, think of it like this. You're standing on one side of a huge canyon, and your goal, everything you want, is way over on the other side. So how do you get across? You build a bridge, right? And in the world of goals and ambitions, that bridge is called a plan. It's the structure that literally connects where you are right now to where you want to be.
So what exactly is this blueprint? What do we really mean when we talk about planning? Let's break it down and get a super clear definition.
And there you have it. The definition itself is pretty simple, but its power is just immense. Planning is all about making decisions before you have to act. It's the whole process of setting a target and then mapping out the exact route to get there. So you don't just know what to do, you know precisely how you're going to do it.
And this image just nails the point perfectly. You see, just like these players, a good plan keeps your eyes locked on the target. Every single move, every action is intentional. It's all aimed at that one specific goal. It's not about just working hard randomly. It's about focused, purposeful action. What's really cool about this is how it breaks down the DNA of planning. First off, it's always looking ahead. It's futuristic. It's also all about decision-making. You got to pick one path over all the others. And it's a serious mental exercise. You have to think critically and use your imagination, not just react to things. And this last one is so important. It's the primary function. Nothing else, like organizing or leading your team, can even happen without a solid plan in place first. It's the foundation for everything.
So how do we actually make one of these plans? It's not some kind of magic trick. It's a process, a playbook really. Let's walk through the 7 essential steps to get it done.
The foundation is absolutely everything. It all kicks off with step 1, setting objectives. And you have to be specific, not just get in shape, but more like run a 5K in under 30 minutes by June. Step 2 is developing premises. This is basically you playing fortune teller and making some educated guesses. Are interest rates going to go up? Will a new competitor pop up? This sets the scene. Then, in step 3, you identify alternatives. You just brainstorm every possible way you could reach your goal. Finally, step 4, you evaluate those paths. You weigh the pros and cons of each one, kind of like a detective figuring out the best lead. Okay, so after you've weighed your options, you hit step 5. Select an alternative. This is the moment of truth. You pick a path and you commit. But listen, a plan that just sits on a piece of paper is totally useless, which brings us to step 6, implement the plan. This is where the real work actually begins. And last, but definitely not least, is the crucial step 7, follow-up. You don't just set it and forget it. You've got to constantly check your progress, be ready to adjust, and make sure you're staying on track.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty straightforward, right? You just follow the steps and success is guaranteed. Woohoo! Well, not exactly. The real world has this funny way of throwing a giant wrench into even the most perfectly laid plans. I mean, this is a question we've all asked ourselves at some point. You had the perfect plan for your day, your project, your year, and then, bam, life happened. So understanding the built-in limits of planning is honestly just as important as knowing how to create one in the first place.
Here we've got the classic double-edged sword of planning. On the one hand, it's amazing. It gives you clear direction and helps lower risk because you're forced to think ahead. But on the flip side, that same plan can make you rigid. When you're locked into one specific path, it can be really hard to adapt, especially when things are changing all around you.
And there are other traps to watch out for. A really rigid plan can totally squash creativity, right? It discourages people from thinking outside the boxes you've drawn. It can also be incredibly expensive and time-consuming. And maybe the most dangerous pitfall of all is a false sense of security. Assuming that just because a plan worked before, it's gonna work again. It's a huge reminder that the goal isn't a perfect plan. It's a resilient one.
So what's the solution? If every plan has these potential flaws, should we all just give up and wing it? Absolutely not. The key is to be a smarter planner, which means using the right kind of plan for the right situation.
This is so important. I mean, you wouldn't use a hammer to turn a screw, would you? In the same way, you shouldn't use a massive 10-year strategic plan to manage a one-day event. Smart planning is all about having a whole toolkit of different types of plans and knowing exactly which one to pull out and when.
Okay, so at the highest level, we can sort all these tools into two main buckets. First, you've got your single-use plans. These are designed for a unique, one-time thing like launching a new product. And then you have your standing plans, which are for all the stuff that happens over and over again, like how you handle customer service calls. They create consistency.
Now let's look at the biggest tool in the whole kit, strategy. This is your high-level game plan, the big kahuna. It's not about the tiny details, it's about the big picture, like where are we going in the next 5 or 10 years, and how are we going to position ourselves in the market to win?
A policy, on the other hand, is a standing plan. Think of it like a general guideline. For example, a company might have a policy that says, we hire the best person for the job, regardless of their background. See? It doesn't tell you the exact steps for hiring someone, but it sets the guiding principle for anyone making that decision.
Okay, this table pulls it all together beautifully. So your high-level strategy, that's your North Star. To support it, you have your standing plans, the ones you use again and again. A policy guides your thinking, like the customer is always right. A procedure gives you the exact step-by-step instructions for routine tasks. And a rule is a flat-out command, like no smoking here. Then, for those unique goals, you grab your single-use plans. A program is for a big, complex project, and a budget is all about tracking the numbers. See? Each tool has its own specific job.
And all of this brings us right back to you. The bridge between your dream and actually getting it done is a plan. You now have the definition, you've got the process, and you've got the whole toolkit. So think about it. That next big goal that's been rattling around in your head. Knowing everything you know now, what's your first step?